Good morning to each and every one of you. This is the EDA meeting of the Brainerd City, and it's 7:30 on March 4th, and we're ready to call to order. And so let's do roll call. Mr. Chansky, would you do a roll call, please?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. Johnson.
Here.
O'Day.
Here.
Bevins. Beezer.
Here.
Kirsch.
Here.
And Erickson.
Here. And next, let's do the approval for the amendment of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move approval, Johnson.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried. Approval for the minutes from January 7th. I hope you all got a copy and had an opportunity to read them. So could we get a motion to approve the minutes from January 7th?
Motion.
Second, Johnson.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Financial report. Connie, are you ready to do that?
Yes, I'll take any questions if there's any. They are just as January 1st, 2021, so there's not a whole lot of activity so far, but the $2,500 that you do see under professional services is the monthly amount agreed to pay the EDA to pay the city for staff time. That's what is on the that's the $2,500 that you see on the statement. Is there any questions?
Can I have a motion to approve the financial report?
Motion, Kirsch.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor of approving the financial report, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. All right, updates. Jennifer, would you give us an update, please?
I sure will. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the EDA, and I probably will defer to David on a couple of these items, and maybe Marie. Just to update on the Downtown Business Coalition, as you know, the EDA did allocate $15,000 towards a position for the DDBC. I know that position has been posted. I'm not sure when it is closing, but they are moving forward with the hiring of that position. They are also kind of leading an initiative in doing Christmas lights in downtown Brainerd. So there's a meeting scheduled for next week to start talking about that. It's only March, but it's a really good idea to start planning for it now so that come November we're ready to install those. A couple of other updates. As you may recall, we did transition into an interim public works department effective in, oh my gosh, when was it, in January? And so Paul Sandy is now acting as our interim public works director, and we have parks underneath our public works department. I think it's been a really good transition. The park board is really focused on improving our parks. One of the things that they felt very strongly about was spending less time on recreation programs and more time on the beautification of our parks. So they're doing a couple of things. First of all, they are going to wrap up the Lum Park Master Plan that was entered into by the City Council for the Children's Museum. But as you know, the Children's Museum has exited, but the Park Board is still going to move forward with that master plan for Lum Park. They're also looking at some design standards to try to get some consistency throughout our parks. So while that's not directly economic development, I think it certainly is getting people here in town using our parks. And so I'm really excited, and it's been really fun to attend the park board meetings just to kind of hear what they're doing and what their thoughts are and what they're thinking about. Another thing, as you probably know, this is our sesquicentennial. This is Brainerd's 150th birthday. And so there has been some planning in the works. COVID has kind of hampered some of the planning, but really happy that the mayor and Mary Devine Johnson from Visit Brainerd have really kind of taken this and are helping, I think, move that initiative forward. And then last but not least, I thought it was important to talk about the parking commission. The city has a parking commission, but it kind of went dormant. And there was some interest in bringing that parking commission back. The council has appointed new members to that parking commission. I think there was only one when we started, maybe even none when we started. And they are also having some great conversations about parking and what we're going to do with parking in the future. So I don't know if, David, if you want to touch on the Parking Commission.
I have that later on the agenda, so I'll do that under informational.
Well, there you go. I should have read the entire agenda. And that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any. Just some things I think that are happening at the city that may be of interest.
Please.
You mentioned the Christmas lights. Is this something totally different than what the city already does?
No, I think what they're looking at are the Christmas lights that we have right now are kind of nearing the end of their life. And so what kind of opportunities do we have in replacing those? We're also asking BPU to be at that table as well. And just at this point, just exploring what could be.
Gotcha. Just curious.
Jennifer, can I ask about the Children's Museum? Has anything taken place there? Are they still planning in the Brainerd City?
So I haven't talked to them for quite some time. After they exited Lum Park, I know they were going to explore a couple of other options that they had looked at previously. And I haven't spoken to Peter Olson in a couple of months, so I don't really know where they're at right now.
Okay, thank you. I'm excited about the 150 years of celebrating the city of Brainerd. That's exciting. That should help our economy here somewhat. Hopefully that we can put some things together to make it profitable and exciting and fun for the city of Brainerd. That's good, good. HRA, Eric.
Sure. There we go. Thank you, Chair. Just a couple updates this month. We continue to assist a developer in their preliminary steps of redevelopment project in downtown Brainerd. Good things there. Market study did come back. That was shared with me late last week, so I'm kind of delving into that. But the developer is continuing to move forward with their plans. They're talking with their architect. So we're just going to continue to move this along slowly but surely. We probably won't see anything in the citywide for a while still. But exciting nonetheless. We're happy that things are moving forward there. Not going to release a ton of details yet because the developer hasn't finalized anything. So as we continue to work through that, we're going to still aim for applying for some demolition and infrastructure grant that is next due in August. We had to delay our February application, just we didn't have the information that we needed that we could supply to deed for that. So looking forward to that. Developer's excited about it. We've also been in contact with another local developer who is looking for land to build single-family residences and potentially do some infill throughout the city. Jennifer, David, and I met with him, would have been back in January actually, and supplied him with some of the tax forfeit properties that are available within the city limits, because that is a good way for the developer to get some land that's pretty easily developable for a very good price. So we'll continue to work with them. I have not heard back from that developer. I do have a follow-up meeting or reminder on my schedule for next week to just follow up with him. So hopefully he's moving forward with that. He was not in any huge hurry at that moment because he's still working on a project in North Brainerd. Let's see. We also continue to keep in contact with another interested individual that owns some property in Northwest Brainerd. John Schomer did have a sit-down meeting with that property owner as well as their architect last week on potential multifamily housing. So I'm going to follow up with that developer, or not developer, landowner, and see where we're at with that and what the scope of that project is going to look like. I will loop in Jennifer and David on that as well once we get a sit down there. So some good projects going on, but not a lot of grand, information that I can share at this moment. If anyone's got any questions for me.
Any questions from the council?
If not, we'll let Tyler or John give his update as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Morning,
Thank you,
Tyler.
Chair Erickson and members of the board. For rehab perspective, we do continue to move forward with our Northeast Brainerd grant. I did do a presentation at the landlord meeting last month and had great success. We're a single-family rental rehab. We had 6 units targeted in that grant. We'd only had 1 in process, and now we have applications in for the remaining 5. So definitely good news. We continue to pursue owner-occupied rehab in that area. I would encourage anybody, if they know of an owner over in that area, to please contact me. Definitely like to get those funds working. So the Brainerd Oaks, Serene Pines, Dalmar Estates, we continue to move forward. There's still foundations in the ground the developer has to build on. He is taking down 3 more lots tomorrow, so we continue to move forward. So, any questions for me?
Anyone
you.
have questions?
John, how many total lots has Monty taken down since came into contract with the HRA?
It's over 50, about 54,
That's amazing.
not including the 3 tomorrow, so.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And the contract is for at least 10 years, so we'll be up over 60 by the end of 2021.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good news.
Yeah, amazing. All right, let's move into old business then. No,
6C.
or Blake, I'm sorry.
You could have
I'm
skipped,
sorry.
Mr. Chair, you could have, that would have been, no.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Just kidding.
Tyler?
I appreciate that, Mr. Chair. Just to give a few updates with regards to Bladek, I put some, obviously in the packet, included some information on, we're finalizing the final steps, obviously, of the Crow Wing County Economic Assistance Grants. The county is required to have all funds dispersed by March 15th. If there is any remaining funds left over, which there won't be, would have to be returned to the state. So the county made sure that all funds were distributed. As you see the breakdown, there was $1.2 million. This project began in the middle of December, and we had about a 3.5 week window for applications. In that window, we received 365 grant applications. All of that is, this time was much different than the CARES Act, just because for-profit and nonprofit businesses all funneled their applications and information through Bladek. So we managed the full project this time. They broke the funding out into priority buckets. The priorities were based on, priority 1 was based on businesses that had not received any type of funding from any of the grants that had previously been administered. Priority 2 was broken down a little bit farther with regards to different business sectors that hadn't received grants. And then finally, priority 3, the priority 3 bucket was businesses in the county that had received funds previously, but still required some type of assistance from the county. So again, pretty challenging work for the county commissioners, our staff. A lot of work goes into this. Obviously, with maximum grant amount, again, was $10,000. So they, as you can see in the breakdown, 365 applications received in 3 weeks. $834,443 was approved in 91 applications that went out to priority 1 and priority 2 buckets. With that, then 184 businesses were remaining that were applicant eligible. And with a fund balance remaining there, each one of those applicants will be issued a grant payment of $2,266.69. The county commissioners felt that the best way to handle the remaining businesses that were eligible was to disperse the funds evenly, just so that they could make sure that the majority of the funds were handed, or all of the funds were handed out, but were handed out evenly. So there was obviously a lot of legwork that was involved in that. 4 businesses, again, were funded that did not request the full split amount. So that's where some of the 4 businesses had requested less than what the $2,266 was. We've actually had 1 business that has declined the funding. So those businesses that were receiving the $2,266, that amount will be dispersed around amongst the other 184. So if we do the math, it breaks down to a few extra dollars for all of those grant applicants. So, and as a breakdown for the Brainerd businesses, so 74 Brainerd businesses with Brainerd city limit addresses, 74 applications were approved. a total of $328,466 was funded to Brainerd proper businesses. And if you think about that, that's 28% of the full distribution went to Brainerd businesses. So that's good news. Obviously, it's helping out our local, the Brainerd local businesses with these funds. And so that was, we will close that. Again, that'll close probably, we have about 12, I think there's 12 applicants that have yet to return their grant applications. So that's the challenge with this, is we have to chase those folks down. If they don't return those, then we could see higher amounts being distributed out, but they have until the end of today to get those grant applications back to us. So hopefully that'll get done. We are continuing to work and have been working over the last couple of months with Mike's project, Mike Bierkness's program with the key recruitment. He has hired an accountant for one of our accounting firms here in Brainerd. That was completed first week of February. Currently, I have 3 requests into our unified fund. One of those is a business in Brainerd that is looking at access to unified fund dollars to help a purchase of a piece of property here in Brainerd. So that's good news, especially since last year we only processed 3 total loans. I guess that can be attributed to the times and the obviously with the pandemic, not a lot of additional activity as far as building or expansion was going on. So, but the unified fund still continues. We have a total of 16 loans that we've funded. And Gabe will be happy to know, as one of our board members, we still do not have a single delinquency. We've not had one late payment with 16 loans over 3 years now. So that's really good news. That's a great job by our board and our staff by vetting these applicants. So it's been working really well. Last thing I'll mention is that next Tuesday, March 9th, which does not allow me to attend the Christmas lights meeting, which I was invited to, but it coincides with our annual meeting. So our annual meeting, Bladix annual meeting, which we are required by our charter to have every year, but this year, unfortunately, we have to have this meeting virtually. We didn't feel it was prudent to put 125 people into a room, even though we legally could. Just didn't seem like the right thing to do. So we are holding our meeting at 7:30 a.m. on Tuesday, March 9th. We have a full slate of folks that are going to present, which is really exciting for us. But our keynote speaker is Shirley Bloomfield. Shirley Bloomfield is the president and CEO of NTCA, which is a Rural Broadband Coalition, and she's based out of Washington, D.C. So we're pretty excited to have her be able to present to the folks here that are members of BLADEC and our elected officials in our communities. So it's going to be a really good meeting. I'm excited. I had a chance to chat with her yesterday, and she was just listed in the Washington Journal as one of the most influential people in Washington, D.C. So it's pretty exciting to have her give up some of her time to speak to our group. So if you have a chance if you haven't registered yet, you can go onto our website. Most of you probably should have already received a email invitation to register for the meeting, but if you haven't, just let me know and we'll make sure if you have time to join us, that would be great. And again, the beauty of the Zoom is you can bounce in and out of it too. So it's a good thing. Nobody will notice if you get up from your chair and leave. So that's, unless anybody has any questions for me, that's all I have this morning, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Tyler.
You're welcome.
It's exciting to hear about all the money that was given out to the businesses and how you did it.
Yeah.
We put some excitement in their lives too.
It's really exposed, certainly has exposed our organization to a lot of different businesses, and which is great for us. We're excited that they can look to us for guidance. We've had some calls regarding some of the PPP stuff, what's going on in the legislature right now, and whether or not they're going to tax that at a state level. We just don't know that yet, but those calls are coming through to us. We get some questions regarding some of the EIDL loans that were given out last year too. So it's good that these smaller businesses look to us as a resource now. So it's been good for us.
It's interesting that one business turned it down.
One business turned it down.
Did they give reason?
They did. They said they would prefer that the funding goes to other businesses that they feel need it more than they do.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was,
Still integrity in our country.
there's a lot of these.
One out of 365.
It was, yeah, but it was good in the county, you know, the county could keep that money as well, but the county is choosing to disperse it back out amongst those other applicants that were approved for funding.
It's only a huge blessing to the businesses in Brainerd area.
It is.
Any questions for Robert? Excellent report, thank you so much. Old business. David?
I can take that, Mr. Chair, and if I can just remind you, Mr. Chair, to turn your mic on.
I'm sorry. Mr. Jansky.
And I just want to note, I believe Commissioner Bevins has joined us virtually. Can he hear us? Kelly, can you hear us? Okay.
Oh, good. Thank you, Kelly.
And then because, Mr. Chair, because Commissioner Bevins has joined us virtually, we'll need to take all votes moving forward by roll call.
I didn't hear him.
Will any votes moving forward need to be roll call
Because
since Kelly's
Kelly is
virtual?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Yep. Okay, under new business, first item, Mr. Chair, is the EDA Bladex Shared Services Agreement. Again, just as reminders I put in the packet, the EDA is part of its 2021 budget approved to contract with Bladex for professional services at $60,000. The city also contracted with Bladex, the EDA approved, city contract with the EDA. The EDA approved the city's shared services agreement during its January meeting. Attached, you'll see you have the shared service agreement, the proposed agreement between the EDA and Bladex. It's in the exact same format as the agreement with the city. You'll see, again, scope of service compensation, pretty much of the same language. I'll hand it over to Tyler if he wants to go over kind of his proposed scope of services within the contract.
Yes, thank you, David. Just as this is a new agreement for us, so it was put through to our board in February at our February meeting. We did not have a January meeting, so which in turn is the delay in getting this all finalized. Our board needed to review this agreement as well. So didn't have a board meeting when we got the agreement. So we needed to put our own language in here, which was typically the agreement between the city, between Bladex and the EDA is a contract that we had drafted and didn't feel that was relevant any longer and wanted to be consistent with the agreement between the city and the EDA as well. So inside the scope of services, as you can see, A through H, communicate potential problems to the EDA board and offer viable solutions, which is the same as what the city does as well. Create and manage a database of all Brainerd businesses. We have done that, but we're going to get a little bit deeper into that now. And I think with our exposure to our local businesses that we have obtained here in the last 6 months, this is going to be a much deeper dive into the Brainerd businesses. And I think it's absolutely relevant that we have something like this for the city of Brainerd. We don't have other cities asking us for something like this, and this is conversations that Community Development Director Chansky, Administrator Bergman, and I have had, and I think this is going to be an important piece for this group to have a full database of who all the Brainerd businesses are. And we will stay within the city boundaries. Is that the preference? Is to stay within the city boundaries, obviously. So we will complete at least 25 business and retention expansion visits. We've done this in the past. We did not do this last year, obviously, due to COVID. So we will pull that back up and make those visits. We have a detailed document that I'll share with the board at the next EDA meeting so that you can see the type of questions that we're asking our businesses. Pretty detailed information to obtain that gives us a chance to vet out, and especially this board to vet out any issues that maybe our businesses are dealing with right now, and if there's something that this EDA board can do to help, we'll certainly obtain that information out of these visits. Maintain current programs and develop additional programs to address Brainerd business needs. This is something that we're addressing primarily based on the pandemic. What we're identifying is a lot of needs in our local businesses, and I think it's something that as we create a program and identify as we've identified some of the needs of our local businesses, this is something very important to us. So we'll create a program that's going to allow for some assistance on a technology-based, but also information gathering for our local businesses. So we're working on that. We'll get a little bit deeper into that during the month of March and in April. Manage and coordinate the River to Rail activities. We continue to have River to Rail meetings. The River to Rail Commission is, our organization, I guess if you'd call it that, group, if you will, is made up of representation from the HRA, the city, the Community Action, Bladek, the arts. I'm trying to think of all of you guys may be able to help me on that, but there's a pretty big group, obviously. The Visit Brainerd is in attendance at these meetings as well. So we'll continue to coordinate, manage, and coordinate those board meetings and any activity that continues to come through that. Work in cooperation with the EDA as well as the HRA to advance economic development and redevelopment within the Brainerd community. Guide developers, business owners, property owners, and the like through the development and redevelopment process, which is a service obviously we've been providing for 35 years now, and then other projects as directed by the EDA board. So that is the scope of service that we've identified, and if it's met with approval from this board, those are the things that I would like to report on and provide details as the activity occurs.
Any questions? Mr. Chansky, do you have anything to add?
No, I was just gonna add that pretty much the rest of the contract is almost identical to that with the city, just with Bladek specific information in it.
Thank you. Any other questions for Tyler about this shared service agreement? I think we're at the place where we need a motion to approve this contract and agreement with Bladek. So can I have a motion to?
I'll go ahead and motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and seconded to approve this shared services agreement as stated. I guess we'll have to do roll call. Mr. Chansky, would you do roll call, please?
Yes, I can. Johnson,
Yes.
O'Day,
Yes.
Bevins,
You had to do an oil change.
Yes.
Beezer, Kirsch, and Erickson.
Yes. So that motion has been approved, and so, good explanation. Thank you, Tyler. I appreciated that, going through that, and, yeah, we need to be reminded of those things that our city.
I want to thank city staff as well. I think this is a really good shared services agreement, and having worked with their legal counsel to pull this together, it's a really good agreement, and our board was very pleased with this, so thank you.
Good.
Thanks to the staff.
And Tyler, are you still doing the keeping track of your time? Remember they asked you to do that. Are you still doing that?
We are, and we actually, that is. We do that with our agreement with the HRA, as well as the, as well as the work that we do with the county. So we do it for everybody now.
I think it just covers your back and helps you to prove, and so good. Thank you for doing
Yes.
that. And it's kind of a hassle, I know that, but good. Thank you for doing that. All right, let's move forward then to new business. All right, before we do anything else, I want to welcome Tony Beezer. Is it Tony Beezer? Beezer. Well, welcome to the EDA. Thank you for joining our council and being part of it. You've been kind of thrown into the lake here this morning, right in the middle of it. But thank you for coming. We welcome you and trust you'll have a good tenure here.
Mr. Chair, perhaps if we could let Tony introduce herself and tell us something about herself, and then we go around the room and all introduce ourselves to Tony. This is the first city commission she's been on, so we're all new faces to her.
Oh, great. Good idea. Thank you, Gabe.
So my name is Tony Beezer. I work at High Tech Construction. My background is in accounting. I have worked in family accounting, public accounting, private accounting. And I have been part of a handful of different nonprofit organizations in the Brainerd Lakes area to try to make a change in our area. And I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah, Mike O'Day. I know Tony through the JCs, but there's some of you out here that I haven't really formally met. I'm a chiropractor just a block away, also city council. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And I'm Wayne Erickson, and got pushed into this position of chair. But we'll work through it. But I'm very excited about the city of Brainerd. I'm thanking you to come on. I work, I'm semi-retired now. I work as an assistant pastor at the church here in Baxter, First Baptist, and that's where I'm at. Gabe?
Thanks. Hey, Tony. Gabe Johnson. I'm the Brainerd City Council liaison to this commission. And I asked Tony to apply. I worked with her for a number of years on various projects with the JCs and stuff, and I think she'll be an asset to this organization.
Marie Kirsch. I own Nutty Pine Bakery in downtown Brainerd, and I'm also on the Destination Downtown Coalition Board, and excited to have you here.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Have at it, Steph.
Yeah, we always wonder who you are over there.
For the EDA, and recently moved to the community development department in permits. So I won't be here as much once they fill a spot upstairs here.
Tyler Glenn, I'm the executive director of Brainerd Lakes Area Economic Development Corporation. Welcome.
I'm John Schomer with Brainerd HRA.
Eric Charpentier, also know Tony from the JCs, so JCs well represented here. And the current director over at the Brainerd HRA. Good to see you again. Worked with her for many years.
I'm David Chansky. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Brainerd.
I'm Jennifer Bergman. I'm the city administrator for the city of Brainerd, and welcome. We are thrilled to have you here. It's nice to have an addition to this board. It's always great to see this diversity. So your high tech and your accounting, I think, will be a real asset to the EDA. Thanks for agreeing and volunteering to be on this committee.
I'm Connie Hillman. I am the finance director for the city of Brainerd.
And then I don't know if we want Commissioner Bevins to introduce himself.
Yeah, Kelly, tell us about yourself.
My name is Kelly Bevin. I've been on the city council for over 20 years and sitting on the corner of 4th and Washington pumping gas for almost twice that long. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you again, Tony, for being part of this EDA. Yeah, we welcome you and glad to have you here. All right, I guess we do need a motion to accept the...
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
we have the strategic planning item still to discuss under old business.
Oh, strategic planning.
Yep.
7B.
Yes.
You want me to
And
take
that's
that?
you, David?
Yep, I can take that.
Mr. Chansky, go ahead.
So, Mr. Chair, as members of the board, as part of the EDA's 2020 budget, there was, and 2021 budget, the EDA budgeted $5,000 toward doing a strategic planning session. In February of 2020, the EDA and the council held a workshop, kind of discussed the city's opinion regarding what the EDA should be working on. And then they were going to do some strategic planning. COVID kind of derailed everything. As part of the 2021 budget discussion, the EDA, just as a reminder again, decided that they wanted to continue pursuing strategic planning. And so on January 7th, the EDA directed staff to engage the city council to first hold a joint EDA city council workshop. The purpose of this workshop is, again, get the EDA, especially as there's new members on the EDA and the city council kind of on the same page, to ensure each identity knows what their role is when it comes to economic development. That workshop has been scheduled for next Monday, March 8th at 5 p.m. here in the city council chambers. Additionally, we directed staff to research and engage third parties to conduct a strategic planning session. I have spent time doing that. The one thing I found out as I was doing my research is that there was not a plethora of entities interested or willing to conduct this type of strategic planning session I think that the EDA is looking for and within the budget. I even reached out to Cheryl Hills with Region 5 Development commission and told her that she would have a lot of context. She said, I do have context. She just said, however, again, I kind of told her what I think the EDA was looking for. And she even said, what they've had to do is a lot of times those kind of strategic planning sessions or trading sessions, they've had to do themselves because there's a lot of consultants aren't willing to do that. They want to do multi-day, multi-month, $50,000 plus contracts. They don't want to do kind of one-off things. That's what, again, I further found as I continue to do research. However, I did reach out and spoke with Mr. Bruce Miles. He is the CEO of the Big River Group. And he did put together a proposal for the EDA to consider. I believe he also called all of you and spoke with all of you in the last week kind of regarding that, so he can ensure that his proposal best achieves, I think, what the EDA is looking for when it comes to strategic planning. I did provide that to you on paper. Kelly, I'll email that to you. It just came in late last night as he was finalizing and was able to talk with the last commissioner. And I'll just walk you through it really quick. It's pretty simple what he is proposing. He's proposing a retreat. He said the retreat proposed has been used extensively with the public and private organizations, including government, business, and education entities. He said the retreat system will allow participants to quickly examine and refine the organizational vision, mission priorities, and develop work plans where needed. So it's a three kind of part proposal, all designed around the single 1-day, 4-hour retreat. He's got some pre-retreat activities where he would call the participants in advance, just kind of get things primed and ready. Draft the agenda, that'd be presented to the EDA for edits and approval prior to the session happening. So he's going to make sure that this session really achieves what the EDA wants before we get there. And then the retreat itself, he's proposing to be about 4 hours, so probably a morning or an afternoon, which would involve the board members and then key representatives, so city staff, members of the EDA, members of the HRA, and anyone else that the EDA feels fit should be there. And part of that retreat, as I know I discussed with Bruce, I believe Jennifer discussed with Bruce, is kind of started off, especially now we have some newer members of the EDA going over again what's the purpose of the EDA, powers of the EDA, kind of lay that as a framework, what are EDAs, discuss the outcomes and products from the recent initiatives, ID recent successes and issues, kind of what has the EDA been doing, what's been working, what has not, and then go through and start discussing and identify vision and mission for the EDA, identify and specifically discuss near-term priorities, talk about benchmarking, next steps, kind of where does the EDA want to go moving forward, and then kind of have an evaluation at the end. After the session, which is part 3 of his proposal, he would essentially do a wrap-up where he's going to wrap all of everything that was discussed in that session, put it back all together, and send it back to the EDA kind of as one wrap-up document. And then he would allow for FaceTime, phone calls, follow-up meetings if necessary. If the EDA, after you receive his final report, have any questions, he'd be available for that as well. He lists in there his outcomes and products. He said anticipated that all work will be completed within the retreat, and the work products will include email copies. So again, the idea is kind of keep this to the retreat, maybe, as he said, maybe some pre-work beforehand where he's going to call, make sure everyone's on the same page. But the idea is keep this to that 1 day. And he'll provide consensus. So again, the goal is to make sure that the EDA is all on board and on the same page with what the past successes are, history to date, refined vision and mission if needed, a list of organizational priorities, benchmarks for priorities, identifying necessary roles, responsibilities, and deadlines, and then again, an overall session evaluation. In total, his proposal comes to $6,225. Again, the EDA budgeted $5,000 in the budget. That was in 2021. We also did budget $5,000, and I think came pretty under budget last year. So Connie can speak more to the budget side. I do believe that there are, the funds are available if the EDA wants to choose this proposal. Last time, he doesn't have a date on this, but when I did speak to Bruce, At that time, his idea would be probably either late April or May retreat is what he was looking at. And with that, I'll answer any questions that I can from the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. One of the things, I have had the opportunity to work with Bruce Miles on 2 different strategic planning sessions, one when I was at the City of Anoka and one when I was at the Brainerd HRA. I've really appreciated Bruce's approach in that my experience with him has been most strategic plans can drag out for a very long time. As David mentioned, there are some that are months long. Bruce will come in, he will work with you, he will have a written product in a very short period of time. I've just really appreciated his directness and his ability to kind of move groups forward, which isn't always an easy task. So just wanted to share with you my experience with working with Bruce for the last, 10, 15 years.
Thank you, that's helpful. Any other comments?
Yeah, I was curious, who do we plan on having at the meeting? I know obviously us and the rest of the council, but it does mention here strategic employees.
So I think that's really, he's kind of leaving that up to the EDA to decide who they want to be there. I think from our kind of stance would be pretty much everyone who's currently in this room right now would be at that session. And then if there's anyone else identified that the board would like to have there and to invite in addition to, your regular staff, it'd be up to kind of the EDA who you want to be there.
Okay. Is that something we need to talk about and discuss right now, or just decide before Monday?
No, this would be something that would just be decided prior to the session actually occurring.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Was Bruce able to provide any examples of like plans or anything so we can just get a sense of like the deliverable we'd be getting? And that's great to hear from Jennifer that she's worked with him before, but that was just my main question of like,
We can definitely.
who are some of his other clients, and does he have any examples of like plans he's delivered that we could look at? Or
I can definitely ask that from him. Again, one of the probably the easiest ones we can easily get access to is the HRA strategic plan, because that's the one he did. And Commissioner Johnson, I know as sitting on the HRA, you can probably also speak to that plan and the effectiveness of what his plan was for the HRA.
That was long before my time, but we still use it. So it is an effective little roadmap for planning. It is.
But I can definitely get, again, the EDA doesn't necessarily have to vote on this today, but we wanted to get that out there and have any discussion. And if you want to see some more work products, I can definitely reach out to Bruce. I think he'd be more than willing to provide that.
Mr. Chansky, if he's planning on April or May, when would we vote on doing this then?
If the EDA is comfortable voting on it today, I think would be ideal. But I could ask him what his, can we pencil something in a soft cover in May if the EDA to formally vote on April if you're not comfortable in voting on it today, just knowing that you're just seeing the proposal now. I think I can speak to him about that. It's up to the EDA. I think, again, my discussion with him is if the EDA doesn't vote today, I don't think it's going to necessarily say then he's out. He seemed very, very interested in providing the service to the EDA. So I could definitely speak to him and potentially get something soft penciled in for probably May, and with knowing that the EDA would be formally voting on it in April, if you aren't comfortable voting on it today.
How do you feel about it? Gabe?
I would feel comfortable approving this today. I mean, as long as Connie's comfortable with the $1,225 over budget on what we plan to spend on this year.
On the balance sheet, we have an estimated fund balance of about $52,000. We have about a fund balance of about $52,000. Let's just use the ending fund balance of about $51,000. So I think we would have the the funds to save it. And, you know, we still have to meet the rest of our budget too. It's early on in the year, but our budget is our best laid out plan, so I would feel comfortable with that.
And Connie, isn't there money, didn't you, Mr. Chansky, say it was money left over from last year?
And that's the fund balance, the 51.
That would be the 51, is an accumulation of what we've been under, or where revenue has exceeded expenditures is about 51,000. That's what fund balance.
But my thought was, didn't we set 5,000 aside last year for
Right.
development?
And that
we
would be
didn't use
part of it.
And and it went into the fund balance.
Right, right. So we do have that kind of money designated, and we just haven't used it.
Correct.
Mr. O'Day, anyone else have?
I'm-
Tony? Any comments?
I've worked with Bruce before with the leadership program with the chamber, and I would feel comfortable with the budget or the proposal he presented to the board.
Great, thank you. That's exciting to hear, the people that have worked with him. That helps you and I very much here.
Yeah, I'm comfortable moving forward as long as we still have some flexibility to maybe make some adjustments to it as we have time to review it a bit more.
Absolutely. And I think ultimately, Bruce's goal, and I think when spoke with him and why he reached out to all of you, is he wants, you know, especially when we're looking at a 1-day session, wants it to be effective. And so he wants to make sure that, you know, going in, he has a good baseline with all of you so that all of your individual goals as well as the goals of the collective are achieved in that session.
Kelly, do you have any comments? Mr. Bevins?
I got it. No, none at this time, Mr. Chair. I certainly support the $1,200.
Well, I think, listening to each of you, we're ready to have a motion.
I'll motion to move forward to, go ahead with
Second,
the,
Bevins.
Second Bevins, your
He
motion is
seconded your
complete.
motion.
I think you guys know what I'm motioning.
I'm assuming it was draft V2 of the
Yeah.
proposal.
Very good.
I support.
Mr. Chansky, we have we have a motion and a second. Could you do the roll call vote, please?
Absolutely. Johnson,
Yes.
O'Day,
Yes.
Bevins,
Yeah.
Beezer, Kirsch,
Yes.
and Erickson.
Yes. That motion has been approved.
Mr. Chair, I apologize, but Jennifer and I have another meeting to
Yes.
get to right now, so we're gonna dip out and miss the last two agenda items.
Thank you. Thank you for
Good
coming.
to see you all. Take care.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chansky. Great presentation there, and we're excited about the training that will be coming up and the organization of that. New business, we need to accept the resignation of Ed Mink formally, and so I need a motion to accept the resignation with regret that Ed Mink is resigning from the EDA board.
So moved, Bevins.
I'll second.
And second by Mr. O'Day. All in favor? Oh, wait, we got to do a roll call, excuse me. We'll do a roll call vote on that.
I'll just note that Commissioner Johnson has departed. Commissioner O'Day,
Yes.
Commissioner Bevins,
Ah.
Commissioner Beezer, Kirsch,
Yes.
and Erickson.
Yes. Okay, Parking Commission has met a couple of meetings now, and so Mr. Chansky, would you give us an update?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Before we move on, what recruitment efforts are like, is there anything being done for filling that open position? Or should,
Yep.
I'm happy to like mention it at our upcoming board meeting for
Absolutely.
Destination Downtown to see, but I just was curious, like how we go about filling the
Yep, so
seat.
with Commissioner Mink's resignation and with Commissioner Beezer's being appointed, we officially have one vacant seat. So we had Ed resigned and Jerry Sinner both resigned in January. And so that created two seats. Tony was appointed, so we still have one vacant seat. Really, when it comes to recruitment, a lot of times we rely on you as the commissioners. We as staff, when we know of people who we feel might be a good fit, we do reach out to them. But also, a lot of times, you as the commissioners are also our best recruiters. As you can show with Tony, being recruited by Commissioner Johnson. So, yes, or if there's anyone that you know that might be a fit that you would like us to reach out to and have us as staff reach out to them, we'd be more than willing to do that as well.
So there's no one that's applied at this point to fill
To
that
my
vacancy
knowledge, there's
position?
been no one, Steph, as no one's applied for that position.
Connie?
We do place all of the vacancies on every council meeting as well, and it's announced at every council meeting. So that's kind of how it gets out there. It's on our website. But yes, word of mouth and spreading by the commissioners is probably the best recruitment tool we have.
Mr. Tyler?
Can, Mr. Chansky, is the term filling out Ed's remaining term, or is it, because it would end in September, correct? I attend enough city council meetings and hear the mayor speak to this, so.
Did Tony filled,
We're on the later.
so she served Jerry's term?
I can help with that too. I think when I was appointed, there was one meeting left, so
Okay.
I didn't even fill out a new application. They just reappointed after that.
Yeah,
so.
so I think the term would be filling out Ed's term, which I believe expires at the end of this year. So it'd be a term that goes through up to, I should say, September 7th. So, if someone wanted to kind of get their feet wet, that'd be an opportunity, and then they would seek reapproval or reappointment.
We're going to fill a spot because we have Kelly, Michael, and
Right.
Yes, I
Yeah.
think, and Commissioner Bevins.
try to
And
With the
Commissioner
community.
Bevins can probably speak to this as the council president. I believe, Mr. Bevins, your intention was, once we were filled, you had a plan of shifting the council liaisons?
No, sir. We're just gonna follow the past procedures and only have 2 council liaisons, Gabe Johnson and Mike O'Day, and then I'll step off when we can fill my spot. I'm just basically sitting here as a citizen liaison, past council liaison, and we don't need 3 of us on here. So I'm not gonna change anything. I'm just gonna try and get us back in line.
Yep, so I was getting at it, so Commissioner O'Day's, he is currently appointed as a community member. His appointment will change to a council liaison, and then his community member seat will become available. Is that, Commissioner Bevins, that's your intent? Okay, I think that was I believe that's
Yeah.
the intention.
I think so.
So then we'd actually have 2 seats available.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
for clarifying
Thank you.
that. Yep.
Good input. Thank you so much for clearing that up. So we need a roll call vote to accept the resignation. Is that where we're at?
We did that, didn't we? Yes. Yep, we did that. So we
We
were
did
on
that.
informational.
And we're at Parking Commission.
So, yeah, I can just give an update. Jennifer spoke about that a little bit, about the parking commission was created and has started to meet. They have met 4 times now. They kind of, at the end of the year in December, they had kind of an organizational kickoff meeting. Then they met in January. They meet the 4th Thursday of every month at 4 p.m. They met in January. In February, they actually held kind of a workshop, a whiteboard session, as well, in addition to their regular meeting. They're looking at a lot of really good things. Their emphasis is kind of on the downtown area, but also looking at the city as a whole, knowing that anything that has to do with parking is not going to just affect the downtown, it's going to affect the whole, the city as a whole. When they meet this month, one of the things that they'll be discussing is one of the commissioners, Chuck Marone, will be putting together a synopsis of everything that the commission has done. They've identified a bunch of different areas when it comes to parking that they want to address. So they're going to be putting together a report, and then that report will be going before the city council in April. Again, the idea with that report is, this is what we understand we've been tasked with here, the things that we've been identifying that we want to address. Pretty much, council, is this what you want us to be working on? Are we on the right path? So you should be seeing a lot of good things coming out of the parking commission in the next year or so. And so it's be exciting. We'll keep the EDA up to date as, one of the things that the parking commission has acknowledged and be looking at is that parking does have a direct impact on the economics. So how does parking affect bringing people to downtown or just the community as a whole. So that's one of the things that they are going to be looking at. So there will be more to come on the parking commission. Mr. Chair, I just want to add one other piece of information.
Yes.
We as staff, we have been keeping an eye. I don't know, you've probably been seeing in the news information regarding the COVID relief bill that's currently in Congress. The current iteration of the bill has passed the House. It's in the Senate. Staff, so myself, Jennifer, Tyler, we've been keeping a close eye on that. It does look like at this time there will be money that could be, if the bill is passed, going to the county, but also coming to the city of Brainerd. What that looks like at this point, we'll have to wait until see what the final bill looks like. And so we have been keeping an eye on that, and we'll potentially be coming to you probably in April. There might be an item for discussion in April, considering that I think the intention is to try to get this bill passed. The president talked about getting this bill passed by March 14th. So there will be probably some discussion on the agenda in April to discuss how can we potentially be using some of these funds that we received towards economic activities here in Brainerd. So just so you're aware, we are keeping an eye on that, and we are looking at potential ways that we can use that. Talk with Bladek kind of goes into, again, the programs that they may be developing, is looking at, again, how can we use some of those funds to help our businesses here in Brainerd.
Thank you, Mr. Jansky. It's exciting to hear that this is coming about, and the funds, there's going to be a lot of decisions that need to be made here in the future, no doubt, especially with the amount of money that could be coming from the federal government.
Correct.
And ways to enhance our community. I do also serve on the parking commission, and it's exciting to see the meetings. I never imagined that it would go to the place that it has, but it's really, the parking commission is very serious, and they really want to make some changes and do some exciting things. So it's, thank you for that update, Mr. Jansky, appreciate that. Any commissioners' comments? Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Monday's workshop. I think it's something that we definitely need to do. I do want to just comment on the parking commission. I became the liaison for Walkable Bikeable, and I know that they have a lot of common issues that they're dealing with, and it doesn't have to happen anytime, in the next month or two, but I'd like to see a meeting with both those committees.
Absolutely.
Have them meet together and kind of brainstorm, just like we're doing with the EDA Council. So.
You'll make note of that, Mr. Jansky?
Absolutely.
That's an excellent idea. Thank you. Excellent idea. Even a 2-hour meeting would be very beneficial. Any other comments from anyone? Thank you again, Lori, for joining us, or Tony, I mean. Thank you so much. Yes, Tyler?
Mr. Chair, if I can just, one further thing, and this just because it involves a Brainerd-based business, but January 23rd, there was a segment released on a program called Advancement Series, the Advancement TV series. It's hosted by Ted Dance, and it's on CNBC. So on January 23rd, there was a segment on CTC. And so if anybody gets a chance to watch that, it's a really cool program. They did about 12 minutes on CTC. Again, it was shown on January 23rd on CNBC. You can find it on Amazon Prime Video. So it's the Advancement TV series. If you can't find it for some reason, the segment, just get a hold of me. I have the link for it. They interviewed, obviously, Christy Westbrook, the CEO of CTC, and talked about broadband and the developments in broadband in our community, in our region, and the work that CTC is doing on it. It also featured Kyle Bauer, the CEO of Canyon Regional Medical Center, and then myself. So you can stop before you get to me if you choose to. That's fine. But it was a really nice, the CTC, it got set up last summer, went through the fall and did some editing on the program, but it aired on January 23rd. But you can find it through Amazon Prime, and it's the Advancement TV series. And if you can't find it, let me know if you'd like to watch it. But it's a really cool thing to feature a company like the CTC, which is a Brainerd-based company, obviously, but it's really a nice segment. So if you get a chance to watch it, jump
Good.
out there and see it.
We're hoping that it has 1 million views.
It has a lot.
Oh, good, good. I do want to say one thing, Tyler. Thank you again so much for giving us layman's terms on your scope of service. It really helped to understand what you're doing and how you're helping our community, and I think that that was really well done.
Yeah,
And
my pleasure.
Appreciate all the work that people put into that to help us understand that, because there has been controversy in the
Oh, yeah.
past. And-
That's okay.
And exactly what's going on there. All right. We are at 8:30. This is excellent, 1-hour meeting. No other comments by anyone? All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
A motion?
Second.
Second. And do we need to do a roll call, Mr. Chansky?
Yep, and can I just clarify, can we have the adjournment be to the joint EDA City Council workshop on Monday at?
Yes, at 5 o'clock, and that'll be right here in the chamber.
Correct.
Right, so 5 o'clock, everyone be here. And that'll be an hour and a half?
Yeah, so what has happened with that is kind of turned into, it's a two-part meeting. The first part will be the joint discussion between the EDA and the city council. And then the city council has its own workshop after that. I think the intention, talking to Jennifer, is kind of have the first 45 minutes or so
Okay.
to be EDA discussion, then another 45 minutes for the city side for a whole 90-minute total. That is the goal.
Yeah, so please put some time aside for that. It'd be beneficial for all of us to be there. Super. All right, Mr. Chansky,
I can
please
run
do
the
the
roll.
roll call for the,
O'Day,
Yes.
Bevins,
Yes.
Beezer, Kirsch,
Yes.
and Erickson.
yes.